And I will make compensation to you for the years that the swarming locust, the unwinged locust, the voracious locust, and the devouring locust have eaten, my great army that I have sent among you. This is one of the promises that Jehovah God gave at this time. He let them know that whatever was taken from them, he would restore it. And y'all know I like to take whatever was noted in biblical times and help us to apply in modern day. Of course, take this back to Jehovah as well so that he could show you exactly what this promise is for you, specifically in relation to what Joel chapter 2 and verse 21 through 25 actually is saying. So, that's a big statement to say, I will make a compensation to you for the years the locusts have eaten. Have any of y'all had locusts in your life? People that didn't belong there, relationships that you got in that took from you more than they gave to you, jobs that may have took more out of you more than it gave to you. Who even feels like the government is one of the locusts that have been in your life where you feel like oppressed, where you can't get ahead due to things that are happening in the government? Plans that you have tried to do for advancement that never went through. So these are some things that could be locusts in our life. And of course, there's so many more things. Distractions could have been locusts in our life for a long time. And so we want to go to Jehovah to ask him to, help us to figure out what are the current locusts in our lives and what are the past locusts that have been in my life and how will that be restored for me? We know that when God wrote this Bible, it wasn't just for who he was speaking to in those times. It's for all of us. And so we want to ask Jehovah, what is the locust and how will this be restored? How is this promise in relation to my life? In Joel chapter 2 and verse 21, it says, do not be afraid, O land. Be joyful and rejoice, for Jehovah will do great things. Do not be afraid, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness will become green, and the trees will bear fruit. The fig tree and the vine must give their full yield. You sons of Zion, be joyful and rejoice in Jehovah your God, for he will give you the autumn rain in the right amount, and he will send upon you a downpour, the autumn rain and the spring rain as before. So, this is a very encouraging word that he gave to the people in those times because they had just went through just everything being taken away. And so if you are in a current season like that, where you just feel like everything is being taken away, or what I'm feeling right now is if you are in a season where you've let so much go for God, right? So much of who you used to be, so many things that you used to like, so many people that you used to be around. You're no longer doing those things. You're no longer that person. You're no longer around those things. And you've done that all for God's glory, all to become what Ephesians 4:24 says, the new person, to walk in the new personality. Jehovah sees every bit of sacrifice and obedience that you have stepped and walked into, and he will make a compensation for you, to you, for whatever you have done. It can be hard on this walk. It's not something talked about or broadcast a lot, but it can be really hard on this walk because you feel like oftentimes you're dying to yourself daily. You're putting away things. You're ignoring the flesh so that your spirit could become strong. And that's not an easy task in the world that we live in. And so we have to remember, because this world is temporary, though what we may want right now is of the flesh, the spirit is much greater, and the things that we would be receiving, the blessings, the righteousness we would be receiving by operating in the spirit is going to be much greater. So this particular verse, it can be taken so many different ways, as with many verses in the Bible. But what I want us to be encouraged by today is that God is going to make a compensation to you. He is going to make a compensation to you. And we know when God makes compensations, because he is a provider, the things that he does provide, it always comes in clutch. It's always going to be right what we need. It's always going to be right on time. And so we just have to keep this in mind. I do encourage you to read the book of Joel if you haven't. It's in the midst of those all those little tiny short books of the Bible, which is nice because when you can see the beginning of the chapter and the end in a short period of time, it helps you to kind of keep reading it. But I say that to say, if you haven't read it, definitely read it, because it can be encouraging, because we know that God is a God of judgment. He is going to exercise judgment. And so with the government, with anybody who's taken things from you that they never should have, even if it's in a spiritual sense, with the locusts that may have been in your life in the past, any current locusts, sometimes we could be our own locusts by the things that we continue to allow our flesh to do. And so with that, we want to continue to ask God to refine us and to give us wisdom and to walk in the wisdom that he is providing to us. So definitely take this to Jehovah, read Joel, see what prayer points you can pick up out of there. There's so much that we could learn from this book, as well as this particular chapter. And yeah, I just hope this was encouraging to y'all. I will see y'all in the next episode.